Exploring the emerging trends in cannabis products is our panel discussion. Leading our panel is Michael Fruehling. He is the CEO of BFS Innovations. He knows consumer packaging, he understands marketing, and he knows this market quite well. Michael, welcome.
Thank you, Gene. It's great to be here.
Now, your theme that you discussed this time, what meaningful white space exists for cannabis products in the recreational market space? And this discussion is not around sitting around and getting baked and ordering pizza, right? That's not what this is about, right?
Well, I guess that's what we would consider adult use for the product. Although when you actually drill down a little bit further, you'll find that in the adult use space, people are using it for lack of a better term, mellowing out and chilling out. They're not necessarily looking to get baked or high, but they are looking to take the edge off and maybe ease pain that they're experiencing or discomfort that they're experiencing. So there's a lot of different dimensions to it today, as we'll be discussing as our conversation today goes on.
Now, I'm sure this was a lively panel. Tell us about the kinds of people that participated in this panel.
Well, they're all adults. I'm sorry, I can't help myself. It's a range of talents that come from a variety of backgrounds, which is what you hope for when you assemble a panel on a complex topic. And they range from folks who are marketing experts in both consumer goods and or OTC products. We also have technical experts and or regulatory experts who are a little bit more, call it sober-minded, for lack of a better term, and perhaps an unfortunate pun, that deals with okay, what are the rules for playing in this space and what are the right ways for companies to operate responsibly?
So obviously a great conversation, a lot of different ideas, a lot of different opinions. Walk us through this executive summary of large and small companies looking at cannabis for their future.
Well, I think that there are a couple of key points that we want to call out. You have a new market or a new and emerging market, and there's opportunity as long as the folks are sophisticated enough to recognize, where they can differentiate. So the first point that we make is regulations as they emerge will necessitate adaptation. Those companies that can do so effectively will survive and possibly thrive. The reverse is also true. The other point was that the market is developing some increasing sophistication and knowledge. So if you're just kind of not paying attention, you may be subjected to certain rules, requirements, and safeguards that you're not prepared to deal with.
Really, it seems like agility is the buzzword in a lot of industries right now, and it seems like maybe more so in this industry, right?
That's a great way of capturing it.
And do you find larger companies receptive or cautious about entering into this world?
I think that any company that is out there is at least looking at what the right strategy might be to enter the market. I think if you're in the consumer products arena, you're paying attention to this space. So in this particular slide, Jim Kelly called out that perhaps using THC or CBD could be in a liquid delivery system for use as a calming product or as a sleep aid. Maybe companies that are already participating in those spaces with other types of drugs, for lack of a better word, they may be eyeing the market as well. But probably, at least in the near term, these would be small players rather than the big brand names that you probably are more familiar with. So Brandon made a great point that large companies that have sophistication and resources and infrastructure on the supply chain side, these could be key differentiators for them, and those could represent key untapped opportunities, in particular for large companies, all kinds of things that smaller companies are just not resourced to do. And as regulations come down and as greater differentiation between products and brands starts developing, this is where large companies can really leverage their clout and perhaps compete more effectively than the smaller companies can. Hovik mentions that, and this came as a complete surprise to me, and I've been in the consumer products business, not the healthcare business, but I've been in the consumer products business for over 30 years. And his comment came as like an oh wow to me. You can have products in the healthcare area, let's say in the OTC or even in the prescription arena, that are prescription products, but they're not necessarily classified as drugs. And if you kind of follow the right guidelines and provide the FDA with appropriate data, he refers to these things as pillars, you can get into the market and don't have to necessarily classify and invest the money to have a product be a drug. And then, as Brendan Rue mentioned, there are new regulations from the Bureau of Cannabis Control that are requiring there to be child-resistant resealable packaging. So now all of a sudden you need to not only have a package that's child-resistant and resealable, but you have to do it in such a fashion that's consistent with the way the product's intended to be used. You have to do it in a way that's affordable, and you also have to kind of get your supply chain and or manufacturing capability in line to be able to accommodate this new packaging. Building on the earlier point about this kind of rigor and complexity, the language that is used to define a product, whether it's a drug or it's not a drug product, or whether we're calling something recreational or we're calling it adult use, the words matter. And sometimes they matter in a way that can have very practical and tangible implications. If you're referring to something as recreational, it could show that you're not taking the category perhaps as seriously as you perhaps should, or at least not capturing the nuance associated with it.
Okay, Michael, I know that you had a really wonderful panel with a lot of people contributing. Tell us about 3 people that really stood out for you in this conversation.
We'll highlight Joel Matthew, Dean Georgiadis, and Michaela Griggs. Joel is a regulatory expert, and so his perspective on the business as it's emerging is key and important and instructive, as is Dean's. He's also a technical person with a product development and regulatory perspective in the area of pharmaceuticals. And Michaela is a very experienced OTC executive with consumer healthcare. I think it's the proper balance for how the discussion is tending to flow in the most recent themes.
I think you did a fantastic job of moderating this, Michael. And what can we expect next?
Next, we're going to get into more of the details as regards to, I'll call it the technical / regulatory side of things. So it's what are the rules, regulations, safeguards that companies are going to have to be knowledgeable about and mindful about if they want to compete effectively in the medical arena as well as in the adult use arena, and kind of, recognizing where there's information and where there are gaps.
I look forward to talking about that.
Excellent.
Michael Fruling is founder and CEO of BFS Innovations. He is an innovative consultancy that focuses on creative technical solutions for Fortune 500 companies. Thanks again, Michael.
Thank you, Gene. Have a good one.